you have to say? What the fuck do I need to listen
How come
to?
my shit can be all like this? All beautiful and shit. You gotta go fuck it up.
Because you ain't a beautiful motherfucker.
That's fucked up. I ain't a beautiful. I'm sick of this shit. I'm tired of arguing with your motherfucking
the fuck
ass.
up, Chicago.
Don't you turn away from me.
Don't touch me.
What's going on, everybody? Emperor Palpatine here, back with another review, and today we're doing a 65432 on the latest NERD album, No One Ever Really Dies. 65432. 6-ish minutes to tell you 5 things to know about the album with the artist before we get started, 4 favorite tracks off of the album, 3 adjectives to describe the album, and finally I'm left with 2 options. Is this album hot or nah? Now without further ado, we can go ahead and get started on 5 things that you need to know about NERD and the No One Ever Really Dies album. NERD is a band that consists of Pharrell Williams as the primary vocalist and Chad Hugo and Shay Haley as the primary instrumentalists. However, every member of the group does a little bit of everything NERD musically has done over their time, a little bit of hip-hop, a little bit of R&B, a lot of funk rock, and has been known to incorporate elements of electronic music and punk rock. If you like Tyler the Creator, if you like The Internet and Sid and Steve Lacy, if you like Brockhampton, you can thank NERD for a lot of what they bring to the table. This is NERD's 5th album, and the first came in 2002 with In Search Of, and their most recent album was titled Nothing, and that came out in 2010. So there's been about a 7, almost 8-year gap between this last album and what is now a reunion album for NERD. And this track list is pretty damn stacked. We have 2 Kendrick Lamar features, we have an MIA feature, we have Gucci Mane on the album, Andre 3000, we have Future that shows up. We even have an Ed Sheeran feature, and there are even more after that. In total, we have 11 tracks and 51 minutes of music, and it seems like most of the writing, both in production and in lyrics, have been handled mostly by Pharrell and inside the house of NERD. So, now that you know that, let's go ahead and move into my 4 favorite songs on this album. They're pretty great. First up, coming in at number 4 is Voila. This is a song split into 2 pieces, and it kind of feels like the timbre of each of these 2 halves is tailor-made to fit the artist that is respectively featured on that part of the song. So we kick the song off with a very sunny, flashy, very upbeat instrumental that features Gucci Mane on the hook. I think this part of the song meshes with Gucci really well, and his larger-than-life persona. He adds a nice level of shine, a little brr to this hook, and it all comes together very well. Now, part 2 breaks down into this really fat, moonlit instrumental with these super wavy steel drums. This half of the song features Wale, and it just fits him like a glove. And I love the breakdown transition into this part of the song that really emphasizes the very chunky nature of this beat. Moving up one more into number 3 on my list is the song 1000. Now this song makes it on my list despite me having to warm up to Pharrell's section of the song. I still find myself returning to this track a lot, and I think it's mostly because of Future's very heavy and buck wild section. As I continue to appreciate the Pharrell section a little bit more and more with each listen, my overall enjoyment of this record skyrockets because Pharrell's part of the song is very volatile and unsettled. It intentionally doesn't mix everything together so that when we get to that Future section and everything finally locks in together, it just absolutely schmacks. Moving up one more, number 2, Deep Down Body Thirst. This song goes up very high on my list despite having really simple chord Chuchi. It has killer pacing and a fun and addictive melody. It is so high on my list purely out of my personal enjoyment of the song and the overall replay value that I am currently getting out of it. Now, my number 1 favorite song off of this album is Don't Do It. It progresses from a very smooth intro, one that kind of reminds me of something you'd hear off of the Live in Concert EP that Currency and Wiz Khalifa did quite a while ago. From that to a very upbeat and punchy section, and then this thing goes completely manic as Kendrick Lamar enters the song, and we're really starting to reach a fever pitch until this track kind of fades out. This is one of the more politically charged tracks on the album, but like Deep Down Body Thirst, I think this song does a good job of not shortchanging a rockin' good time of an instrumental in exchange for very intentional lyrics. I think this is the most well put together track on the album. I also think it has the best feature on the album. And for an LP that is going in a very experimental direction, this is a song that I think has a very true to the core NERD sound to it. So if I had to describe this album in 3 adjectives, I think the first that I would use would be vivid. I think for most of these songs, what I'm seeing is a very clear and bold and creative direction taken, leaving a lot of these songs with a solid identity. This album is also political, far more political than any of the previous works by this group have been, and I think that this is an element that has helped improve upon Pharrell's lyricism. Because NERD as a group hasn't really been known for stunning lyricism in the past, so I just think that this album having more intentional lyrics helps in that category. And finally, I would say that this album is completely personality driven. One of the best things about NERD has always been the idea of Pharrell and his personality as a lead man sort of poking through the crest of what you get as a band, as well as the idea of Pharrell and Chad Hugo being the Neptunes together, and that also kind of poking through the muse of their sound. So image and persona have always been really important to what NERD is, and the feature list that they picked for this album I think is really conducive to that kind of element. Again, Gucci Mane, Andre 3000, Kendrick Lamar, MIA, Rihanna, these are all people that have an essence about them that goes beyond the music, and it really does amplify the sound on this album, the way it all comes together. In fact, one of my biggest criticisms for this record is some of the softest spots on the album come where there are no features. When they have a certain feature in mind for a song, they're really wrapping everything around what that person might bring to the table. Particularly with the features of Future and MIA, their strengths were catered to on the songs that they were put on. It pays off a lot, but I think in moments where they don't have that driving force to create something, to enhance something else, they seem a little lost. So is this album hot or is it not? I'm gonna say hot. Definitely hot. I think this is a pretty great reunion piece for these guys. You know, I found it very fun to compare this album to the Gorillaz album that came out earlier this year. I had a specific problem with that album having no clear direction and swaying too closely to other people's sounds that were featured on that album. Like I said, people's strengths are catered to when they are guested on this album, but I still feel like I'm hearing a natural progression from the last NERD project and all the ones that came before it. And again, this album does have its weaker moments and pieces of the project that I realistically won't be returning to, but I would say that this is an excellent return for these guys, and I will always welcome another NERD project. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. I want to know what you guys are thinking on this album. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Hot or nah? 4 favorite tracks for you. Any adjectives to describe this album? That's going to be it for me. I have been Dev Del Molino. You have been so wonderful for watching. And remember, art without favor is like a windmill without wind. Dev Del Molino, out. Oh, by the way, the continuous Retchie P sample throughout this project is awesome.
It's so lit. We out here mad ethnic right now. You know what I'm saying? Shout out MLK. Shout out Martin. You know what I'm saying? You already know. Shout out my nigga Malcolm. You already know.